ding's got a story, I suppose. I'd gone into an orchard at a friend of mine's place to fit a chimney for them in a new building that they've got. And it had been very, very wet over the last few days, and so it was slippery, and I've got very, very road orientated tyres. So I had to take a run up to get up the slight hill from the bottom of the orchard back up to the track. Had to pick up a fair lick of speed to do it with the slippery grass. So I was 30 kilometres an hour, and it started to go out on me when I slid around the corner and boofed one of the posts at the end of the row of trellis kiwi fruit. Thankfully nobody else was involved. It happened in an orchard, a slippery, wet orchard. That's all you need to know. How am I going to fix it? Well, I'm going to activate the Ford Courier self-repair system. It's not completely autonomous. I will have to do a bit of work myself. But what I'm going to do initially to get the worst of this out is I'm going to use the vehicle's own jack and a couple of pieces of wood to bring the worst of this out. It was a hell of a whack. Quite a bit of damage. It's a good 5 inches deep. Now, because I'm going to be putting a lot of stress on it, I just want to make sure that good. The catches on the tailgate are the anti-burst type. That means that when I start cranking, this gap isn't going to get changed. Okay, there was a little bit of jockeying for position, but I've now got everything in a pretty much straight line so that I can apply some pressure to it and it won't kick out and hit me in the chops. It's reasonably well supported. I'll have to take it past the point of being perfect because it will spring back a little. And as I work, I may have to do something to start pulling this sharp piece out. That means bringing the welder out, welding some tabs on here, and giving some pulls on those tabs to ease this panel with that panel. That's brought it about 50% of the way back. Just rearrange the pieces of wood so that I can get a more pinpoint push onto this piece here, just so that I can get this point right back where it used to be. Let's see if that works. Helped a lot. I think now it's time to start working on here. Of course, to do that the bed line has had to come out, but that's not difficult, just a selection of screws and rivets to hold that in. This is my primary impact point. That's where I'm going to start pushing. Then I've also got a secondary impact wrinkling up the floor slightly. So we need 2 pushes from this point over here back to this side. Okay, now that I've got the whole side of the thing back into a straight line, it's time to start taking the dents out. With this kind of work, you've got primary dents and secondary dents. The primary dents are the ones made by the impact. The secondary ones are where those primary ones have caused the metal to fold in other areas. quite often those secondary dents will magically pop out when you start working on the primary dents. Because this thing has a bed liner, I'm not too fussed about getting the inside right, just getting it all back into shape again. Using the bumping iron to bring out the lip. Bumping irons can be used in so many ways, and there's so many different types. That top edge that I'm about to start working on should be a nice 6 or 7 millimeter radius curve, but the accident has brought it up to a sharp peak. What I'm having to do is a combination with the hard rubber hammer of bringing it down, but also at the same time trying to induce that roll, that gentle radius of 5 or 6 millimeters that's in there. The only way I can do that is by getting inside and separating these two skins with a soft tool like a piece of wood. So there's a panel in here that's held in with 4 small screws that I've got to remove. Awesome. Once that panel's out, I can get it up in between the inner panel and this outer panel. So I'll go and select a nice piece of wood and the bumping iron, and we'll get in there and work my way up to this top crease. I won't be able to get there straight away, so I'm going to work on the bottom piece first. We'll just prise this out of the way, and that's going to give me more access to get up to the top with longer pieces of wood of different thicknesses. That's better. Good, getting close now. Working on these primary creases gives the secondary dents a chance to come out by themselves. Even with a bumping iron, you haven't always got something to lever against. That's why you need a good selection of different sized pieces of wood. They can be used either behind or in front of the bumping iron to just change the angle of leverage and also to soften the effect. It's a polished piece of steel. It does have nice rounded edges, but even a nice rounded edge is sometimes a little too much. So how's that? Stage 1, it's beaten out. The next thing I've got to do is grind off the paint and get a thin film of bog over it. I do want to do some more work in this corner, but I haven't found a piece of wood or whatever it is I need to get in there and get that out. But I'll have another play. It's not like I'm tied to a schedule or something. I did this dent probably 4 or 5 months ago. Just haven't had time to get round to it. Bit of free time, job's half done. Finish the rest another day. So what tools did I use? Well, there's all those pieces of wood that got used, plus the vehicle's own jack. I had to remove the bed liner itself, so I had to drill out some rivets and remove some screws, so there was a bit of angle grinding and a bit of drilling going on. And I used an assortment of hand tools, of course. I used the socket set and some screwdrivers, removing the tail lights and that small panel from underneath. There's the bumping iron and the slapping stick, these two random shaped bits of metal there, along with a fair old assortment of hammers. Flat piece of metal that gets used for slapping out small dents in large flat panels, rather than using the panel beating hammer, with which you've got more chance of making the metal stretch, and you'll end up with that awful oil canning effect. You know the one I mean, the ba-boing effect.